Hello, Kansas and Western fans. It's time for episode 22 of the construction of the Kansas and Western HO scale railroad. Got a lot to cover today, but basically 2 weeks ago I was tasked with laying more track. And I think there was some emphasis on working on the main line, but I did lay a lot more track and it's all over the place. So we're going to start from the beginning of the layout down here in the Royal Gorge route, and I'll walk around as the layout progresses, or the main line progresses from bottom to top, and we'll talk about each section. Okay, first of all, the Royal Gorge route. Again, that's this section here along this wall that goes around down to that corner until it runs into the west end of Canon City. I did get this siding done, and it's wired and ready to go. I'm going to primarily use that as a passing siding, whether it's for the excursion trains or just trains that are coming in and out of the helix there. Just an area to allow for train traffic to pass. So that's the purpose for that. The good news is with the track laid here, all I really need to do is add the backdrop here, and you can see the end of the existing backdrop. I just need to add it for the rest of the wall down this way, and that essentially means that this area will be ready for scenery. So for those of you that like to vote for scenery, this is the area that's closest to being ready for it. Moving around the main line here into the west end of Canon City. Nothing new here. I do have some track laid out, which is more or less ready to go for the Portland cement area in Canon City. I do believe I have enough turnouts now, or I can order just a couple more. I think some of these turnouts might not be in good shape. Not quite sure about this passing siding here, or this area here with these turnouts, but generally this is how it will look. So still have that section to do. And then in the foreground here, so this is the Canon City station right here, and then next to it in this area will be a restoration garage shop for working on additional rail cars or locomotives for the Royal Gorge Railroad. And so that's what this little spur is supposed to lead to, is to this shop. So that's the point of that. And then since I've more or less decided on how the track is going to lay for Canon City, I think I'm going to have enough room to do a decent representation of downtown Canon City against this wall here. So for those of you that are kind of disappointed that there's not a whole lot of town type area here or on the layout, I think this is a place where I think that will fit pretty well. So moving around. Over here to Pueblo, still nothing much done here. Again, the most neglected part of the layout. And over here to La Junta Yard. This area here, the engine service facility and the car shop, been an area that's been put off for quite a while. This area is now done track-wise. All joints and feeders are soldered together. Still have to attach said feeders. I ended up having to work a couple more days this last 2 weeks than I expected, so I didn't quite get as much done as I would like, but that'll probably get done by the end of this weekend, so not a big deal there. But finally have that terminal done, so I have a place to park the locomotives instead of just randomly in the yard here. And then at the other end of La Junta Yard, I've got this area completed with this transload ramp, which you can transload onto flat cars. You got a ramp at this end to drive directly onto the flat cars, and then the other side where box cars can be unloaded. And then this back area here will be kind of a small maintenance away yard, as you can see with the equipment and rails there. And then backing out for a minute, I decided to purchase an upgrade for my videography. Just got a pretty basic video camera there and a pretty decent tripod that's tall enough that I can get good shots of both the upper and middle levels. I plan to start using this for my operations videos to kind of solve a lot of problems I've been having with those videos. Still have yet to figure out editing with this camera. I'm not sure of its capabilities just yet. It's pretty basic, just a cheapo $100 one from Walmart. But it's got 4K, so the clarity and the visuals should be just as good as what my phone has been providing to this point. But excited to try to use that. Should be able to get better views from the aisle instead of having to set my phone on the layout. So looking forward to trying that out. Anyway, moving down here to Lamar. Nothing new in this area. Really just needs work on structures in there. And then over here to Holly. Again, nothing new. I did acquire a trackmobile, which I was excited to find at a local train show. It does run. There's no lights though. I was kind of disappointed by that because the manual kind of makes it sound like there's lights, but I think just the DCC chip is ready to deal with them. So kind of disappointed there's no lights, but it does run. It's kind of a neat little thing. Pretty ubiquitous on rails, on railroads these days for small industries. So not sure if it'll be a permanent home for it in Hawley, but I'll probably get a couple more. So hopefully I could find some with some lights. Moving up here to the Holcomb Power Plant, nothing new here. Really just have to work on kits to be able to determine exactly how I'm going to lay track up in that area. And over here to Garden City, all this track has been laid and wired. As you can see, the wires dangling down here. I still have to get those connected to the bus, but that's not a big deal. It won't take but 15 minutes. And then all this track will run. And the only track left I have is to connect this here, which will be the spur that runs off to the Holcomb Power Plant. So moving around, this is Charleston Elevator. All this track's been done for a while, so just need to flesh this scene out, finish details on the elevator, add a couple more structures in this area, and this will be done. Then moving on around behind the camera here to the Wichita Industrial Yard. Nothing much new here. This is another area where I was actually waiting on N-scale cork to be able to finish at least this primary siding on the other side of the main line. I do have that cork now, so that's something else that I can work on. I have all the turnouts and all the track needed. The basic layout is there. The final spurs that will serve the industries like this scrapyard, probably won't lay those for a while because I'm going to want to get some more kits, maybe some vehicles, imitation scrap, so forth, before I really determine how I want that spur to lay, but it'll be something like this. And then a couple more industries to build there, but the track is going to be pretty well decided just because there's not really much room to run it, and the industries will be placed right up there against the wall. And then moving around to the, oops, don't go too far here. This is the engine service facility for BNSF, the BNSF part of the Wichita Yard. This is all done and wired. Again, though, don't have the wires hooked up. But since this is an engine service terminal, and it's the same thing for La Junta and the UP side, all these locomotive tracks are going to have power kill switches to them. Just to isolate these tracks from the rest of the layout, if I'm not running locomotives in and out of there, just to preserve power. So if I run a locomotive in here and want to switch to a different one, I can just shut off power to that track and it'll kill the sound, kill the power feeding that locomotive, just to kind of preserve power for the rest of the layout, so we don't use up too much. And then I guess from what I've read, it also helps to save locomotives from potential overloads or whatever if there's any kind of an electrical issue. So it sounded like just a good idea. I'm not going to do a different switch for each track. I'm going to do a single switch for the whole yard, figuring that if I drive one in and then drive one out, there's no reason I couldn't just power the whole yard and then kill power the whole thing. So I'll probably just mount that here, just a single on-off switch. And then closer to the yard here, I've got these team tracks for switchers and for local runs from the yard. I'm going to add another switch for that, a kill switch down in this area. And moving down to the end of the yard and back around. Somebody made a comment, I think, in my last video or about this yard that I've got a lot of rail cars to buy, and that is the truth. But that'll be some fun shopping for a long time to come. Down here to the UP side of the Wichita Yard, I've got this whole service facility laid. Still haven't got the joints soldered and powered. This is one of the things I was hoping to get done before the video, but again, had to do some work. Not a big deal there. I'll get that done, knocked out by the end of the weekend, no problem. But really happy with how the track turned out. It's a little more interesting. It's not just straight. Got some curves into it, a little more visually appealing. But the car shop will definitely be busy with 2 tracks in and out and some extra storage for that. And then the engine service tracks are double-ended, so you can drive out either end instead of like La Junta where it's stub-ended. And moving around down here through Towanda. I had started this main line before I shot the pole video for the last one. The main line is now done all the way to the end of the layout there. I just still have these spurs laid out. Need to do some more structure work before I settle on those. and then this mini yard for El Dorado. I've got the cork put in, still haven't got the track laid. Another one of those things that got put off, but it won't take long to finish this yard. And then the yard throat here for the El Dorado refinery. Won't be too much trouble to add that either. But the main line passes through the refinery here, probably with a tank farm on either side, curves around, and then we'll walk over there. Show the Liftout Bridge I built. It's not super fancy, but it does work. And you can see the connections here. No rail joiner there. Not sure I'm going to need it. And the nice thing about this bridge, it's the first one I ever built. I took a lot of advice from other YouTubers that built these things and just tried to devise my own solution, I guess, for this unique situation. Since this thing isn't a lift out that's necessary to use all the time because it's just blocking this breaker panel, then I shouldn't have to worry too much about how stable it is, I guess, for lifting, in and out. It's not like a pass-through, like I have to walk through here all the time. I know a lot of people's bridges, that's the only way they can access their room for the most part because it's right next to a door. So I don't have to worry about that. But you can see here, it's just kind of lined up with a piece of track glued there, and then it's glued onto this board here, and then just this little 1-inch section, I guess, where the joint is not glued. And you can see here, it just lifts up like that. And then on the other side, and you can see here, I use sectional track for this. But when I started the layout, I bought a couple packages of 24-inch radius curve and 22-inch radius curve to just kind of help me figure out curves around the layout. And so now that I don't need those anymore, I decided to go ahead and use them here, figuring it'd be a lot more stable, not having to worry about flex track maybe moving a little bit because the glue wasn't quite right or whatever, especially for this section here where the curve passes across the joint. I wanted to make sure it was really stable, and I don't have this part of the track glued yet, but you can see here, this just kind of lifts up just like that. And I probably need to put some pins in here or something so it fits perfect because you can see that the alignment is going to be a little bit off. But again, this one's not glued, so that might help. And I might go ahead and slide some rail joiners on this left side here so I can slide those on and off if I need to. But still working on that, but really happy with how it turned out. It's really basic. It's just a piece of plywood left over from the helix construction, a 2x4 underneath to add a lot of strength, and then just kind of little shelves on either side to support these 1x4s vertically for the ends. So pretty simple, not fancy. Anyway, moving around here, Union Tank car facility. Still just have track laid out, nothing added here. I decided there at the end, this structure here was located in La Junta for the yard there, but I didn't like how much space it took up. There wasn't going to be a lot of space left for locomotives. So I decided to move it here. This will be one of, I think, 3 structures, maybe 4. And it's located here at the end so I can add some extra space just for some extra storage. And then I plan to have one more structure here, and it's going to be on the right hand side of that gap since this is a lift out here as well. And then another one here where these cars are. So 3 different stations more or less. I'm thinking one for clean out, one for maybe mechanical, and then one for paint for like the 3 major stages of restoring these tank cars back to good working condition. So that's how that's going to be laid out. But I still need to buy another kit. I've got this one here. I need one more for there before I lay these tracks just to make sure I got spacing right. So big update, lots going on. Looking forward to the next poll for today. And again, we're going to do the cutoff at midnight, Sunday night, this weekend, U.S. Central Time, since I do have a lot of viewers that are not from the U.S. Get your votes in. Let me know what you'd like to see me work on for the next couple weeks. And leave your vote in the comments. And then I should have a new ops video put up next Friday. Hopefully I can figure out how to make that camera work and do some improvements over what I've been doing by using this phone. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for your comments. Leave your vote for what you'd like to see me work on next down in the comments. Everybody have a good day. Thank you.